Welcome everybody to Hikkaduwa in Sri Lanka. I'm sitting at probably one of the most mainstream places right now in all of Hikkaduwa, which is Salty Swamis. As you might be able to see here directly behind me, there is the logo of Salty Swamis. It's literally one of the most visited places in all of Hikkaduwa, and that for a very, very good reason. They have really good food, and they also have absolutely amazing coffee, which is what I had gotten, of course, ice americano, while looking at the beach and sitting in the sun. What more could you really want off of a Sunday afternoon? But that's not the reason why I wanted to make this video or talk to you guys today. Today I want to talk about a topic that I don't usually talk about that much, which is safety for females in certain countries. And with this certain country, I'm speaking about South Asia in general, or to be more specific, Sri Lanka, the country that I'm currently in. And if you're just looking for the answer, is Sri Lanka safe for female travelers that might be a little bit untraveled or not super duper experienced yet? And the answer is no, with a tendency to maybe or getting there, developing in a more positive direction, if you know what I mean. Now, if you're wondering why exactly I have this type of opinion, because there's lots and lots of single female women, single females that are traveling Sri Lanka at the moment as well, that probably have a different opinion, but that might have a little bit of different experiences, I want to say, to what I have and what my friends or my circle of YouTubers have been experiencing in Sri Lanka. And let's start with one first thing immediately, which is 2 years ago, Luke and I were walking down a street in Negombo. It was actually, I think we were coming from the local market, like we went to the church and then we went to the market and then we walked back to our accommodation from there, live streaming. If I can find the footage, it's very, very pixely, but we were live streaming at that time.
To be going into detail about the trip that we had in Sri Lanka.
Hey!
What did he do?
He grabbed my thumb.
Oh.
And a man had cycled past me and grabbed under my skirt, and that not very light, and then kept cycling as if nothing at all had happened. And that was only 2 years ago, which is why I have the opinion that Sri Lanka is not ready for single female travelers yet. But this time around, I don't know what it is. So the last time it was our very first Asian country, so we were both very unexperienced. We didn't really know how to behave, how to do things, and so on. So both of us were still maybe a little bit naive in that way, if you know what I mean. And that had happened to me. This time around, I don't seem to be having much issues. I do have issues, however, if I show a little bit of skin, which is also what I had been doing at the beginning of our Asia travel. So when that incident had happened, I was wearing a very, very short dress. And I'm not victim blaming, and I'm not saying, oh, what did she wear or whatever. I feel like a lot of European women, especially Central European women, think that just because in Europe or in America or whatever it is a certain way, that it should be like that everywhere in the world, which in theory I agree to that statement. So it shouldn't matter what you're wearing outside and the way you're looking, the way you're walking around, the way you're behaving. Nobody really has the right to touch you. But the thing is, in other countries, in other continents, there are other cultures, other rules. It's a different way of life. And that rule that I just had stated to you, doesn't matter what you're wearing, nobody is allowed to touch you. That rule is only slowly, very, very slowly, making its way into some Asian countries. And I'm not talking about every single Asian country out there. There's lots and lots of countries which are super safe for women. And I think, for example, Thailand is one of those. Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Sorry, no, thank you. Thailand is, no, thank you. Thailand is, sorry. I don't have any cash with me. I would have bought some incense, but I don't have any cash, so I'm going to pay my coffee here with card, so I can't really buy anything off of those kids. Thailand, for example, is a country which is super safe for women, which I never had an issue. Nobody even looks at you in a weird way if you're walking around naked, basically. So that's, for example, a place where I felt super, super safe. I never had an issue in Cambodia. I never had an issue in Indonesia, and with Indonesia I mean specifically Java and Sulawesi. In Bali, I don't know. I only spent 2 weeks in Bali, so I don't really have any experience about that. So there's lots and lots of Asian countries that are safe, in my opinion. If you have a different experience there, I'm not undermining your experience. Please do let me know if you experienced something that is different to what I'm saying. But especially South Asia, Sri Lanka and India are the two places that I personally had so many issues. And again, we were live streaming. My husband was walking with me, and that situation had happened to me. So I don't really want to know what would have happened if my husband, if Luke wouldn't have been there. I'm sure worse things would have happened, because obviously if you are a single female, a lot of things happen to you, and you cannot necessarily, of course I can defend myself, but if you are outnumbered, you're outnumbered. And men will be stronger regardless of how strong you are. So we don't even have to talk about that. Let's not go down the road of biological strength or not biological strength. Doesn't matter. A man will always be stronger than a woman, especially if they're in 2 or 3 people together in like a little group. So Sri Lanka was one of the places that I had a big issue, and 3 other women that I know of, which are also vloggers, for like YouTubers. I don't really have to mention their names, but I'm sure you have seen other vlogs out there of women or travel couples having these types of titles and issues, and I'm not the only one. So, including me, I know 4 women that had issues in Sri Lanka when it comes to sexual harassment, and I know 6 women that have been to Sri Lanka, like traveling or living in Sri Lanka. I know 6, and 4 of those had an issue, including myself. So there's that. And the other country that I genuinely had a lot of issues, which is super obvious, is India. And here in Sri Lanka, every now and then I do dare to go to the ATM by myself, to do like little things like filming today by myself. I do dare to do that because I don't feel unsafe here. That's not the thing. But there's situations out there and people out there that are just not behaving in the way you should be behaving, basically. So I do dare to do some things by myself here in Sri Lanka, which is why I'm saying maybe. So like it's a no if you're an unexperienced traveler. If you are an experienced traveler, it's a maybe, and the tendency is towards yes. So it is getting better this time around. I didn't really have that many issues, which again I don't know is because I am more experienced. I'm dressing very different. So as you can see, I'm wearing long clothes this time around, and I will never walk around in shorts or a bikini or anything like that. You will not see me wear something like that. Sometimes I do show like shoulders, like a crop, like a shirt or whatever. But that's about it. One time here in Sri Lanka, this time around, I came from the beach and I was sitting in the back of the scooter, and I was wearing not short shorts, but like a short that I was in the water with. I was too wet to basically put my clothes back on, so I was wearing a t-shirt like this and some shorts that are kind of like maybe mid-leg, like. And I could already see again some of the local men looking at me in certain ways, which is why I immediately stopped that and didn't do it again. And that was here in the tourist center of Hikkaduwa, so it wasn't even off the beaten path or anything. It was directly in the middle of Hikkaduwa. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even wear a bikini to the beach or anything like that because I personally, I don't want those looks. I'm not looking to gain any attention, and in all honesty, I don't know, I don't get anything out of wearing a bikini, so I'm not really looking for a tan. We've been in Asia for over 2 years, so I'm not the type of person that is like lying at the beach just kind of taking in the sun or whatever. And another thing that I'm seeing a lot out there, so if you do come down from the beach and you go onto the main street here in Hikkaduwa, there are signs everywhere saying no bikinis off of the beach. So you're only allowed to wear bikinis on the beach because it's just not part of Sri Lankan culture, which I totally understand. And I do think that even if you are a foreigner, or especially if you're a foreigner, you should respect the local rules and just go by those local rules. If there's a sign, no bikinis off of the beach, the rule is no bikini off of the beach. And yet, if you walk on the main stretch, you see so many women, white Europeans, usually white European Western women, wearing only a bikini, and then bad things happen to them. I'm not victim blaming. Again, I do think no matter what you're wearing, nobody should have the right to touch you, but there's literally a sign saying don't wear a bikini. And yet you see women walking around, oh, there's a cute little doggy on the beach. And yet you see women walking around in bikinis, in thongs, no top, and so on. And there are just some cultures out there that are not like that. Like Sri Lanka is not the country where nudity is widely accepted. So, I don't know. It's a big maybe. I do think this time around I see less stares, I see less uncomfortable situations for women, for myself as well, but it still exists, which is why if you're an unexperienced traveler, it's a no, it's not safe. If you're experienced, it's a maybe. Tendency is going towards yes. The culture is changing rapidly. It's getting more and more westernized, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. I really like when countries have their own culture and when countries are very, very different to what you experience at home, because that's the reason why we're traveling. We're coming here in order to experience the local culture and not to see yet another westernized place, right? I'm saying that while sitting in Hikkaduwa, which is probably one of the most westernized places in all of Sri Lanka. So Hikkaduwa, Unawatuna, Mirissa, and Ahangama is making a rapid development towards westernization as well. And then, of course, Colombo. So if you go to Colombo, you have malls and everything. So it's just very Western culture. But I do think it's always important to be able to still experience the culture in the country that you're in, while, of course, here and there enjoying a nice Americano on the beach in a westernized place. So I think it should be a good mix. And so many people out there are saying at the moment that Sri Lanka is the new Bali. I kind of see that off of a lot of travel YouTubers, a lot of sort of people on Instagram are saying Sri Lanka is the new Bali, which in a way I can see, I do understand it, but I really, really hope that Sri Lanka is not going down that path, because I don't know, a lot of the local people in Bali as well, if you talk to them, a lot of them are saying that Bali is losing its own culture. It's so special what Bali has to offer as a culture itself. It's so special what Sri Lanka has to offer in terms of culture. And yet, because of the mass tourism that is happening in these types of countries, well, Bali is not a country, on the island of Bali in Indonesia, the culture is slowly disappearing, and it's becoming very, very westernized. In terms of Bali, very Australianized, of course. It's the main tourist spot for Australians, I want to say. And in terms of Sri Lanka, right now you see it's becoming quite Russian and kind of Central European. If you compare it from 2 years ago to now, it has done a lot of change, which is positive, but also negative. I don't know. It's a mixed bag for me, if I'm being completely honest. It's good because it's becoming a little bit safer for women to be here by themselves. I think 2 years ago I would have said absolutely not. It's not safe for a single female traveler. Well, now I'm like, it's somewhere in between. It's kind of like in a gray area, I want to say. Bad things happen, but you can be lucky and nothing will happen if you just stay in the main tourist areas. So if you're staying in, I don't know, maybe Ella, Nuara Elia, Yala, and then kind of on the coast, like Ahangama, Marissa, Unawatuna, Hikkaduwa. They're not necessarily, like, nothing might happen to you because it's a very touristy areas, of course. But the thing that happened to me happened in Negombo. So that's where the airport is. We went to Negombo because we had to catch our flight. At that time, it was to go to India. Sorry, my arm is kind of going a little bit tired here. I need a sip of my espresso as well. I gotta have a dry throat. 1 second. So the first time around, Luke and I, we actually only did the tourist route. We didn't do anything else. We stayed just mainly on the tourist route. And then on the last day, like, it was literally the live stream to say goodbye to Sri Lanka, like to say bye-bye to the country and that we will be back and whatnot. In that live stream, it had happened. So even if you are in the main tourist areas, that might not necessarily mean that you're safe. And I'm just putting this video out because I see a lot of very young European females, like your early 20s, walking around in bikinis, doing whatever you want to do, which is fine. In a lot of countries, it's super safe. If you do these types of things in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Bali, in Indonesia, wherever you might be, it's pretty safe. If you do these things here, it's not necessarily safe. And that's why I'm putting this video out, because I see it and I think it's dangerous, and I just don't want bad things to happen to other people. Like, for example, there's one beach that is very well known in Ahangama to have like a bad reputation, where like local men kind of creep around and are doing bad things to women. And then I went there like maybe a month ago. My mom came to Sri Lanka to visit us. We didn't include that in any video, so my mom came here, which was super great. And we went to that beach, and you would see early 20-year-old European-looking women with no bra on, sunning on the beach, which is fine. Like, I don't have an issue with that at all. Like, I'm the type of person that used to do it as well in my early 20s. But there is like Sri Lankan men literally sitting in the bushes directly beside them, and it's very obvious that, like, you can see those men, and they're like looking at the young girls, like tanning themselves. And in these types of situations, I'm just like, come on, people, like, have a little bit of, like, I don't know, understanding for what kind of a situation you're in, awareness, I want to say, and just understand that just because it's okay in Europe doesn't mean that it's okay everywhere else, or just because it's okay in the US doesn't mean that it's okay everywhere else. So just be mindful of the local culture. And I don't say that harassing women is part of Sri Lankan culture. That's also not what I'm saying here. But modesty is part of Sri Lankan culture, and I think we should respect that and just kind of read the room, follow the lead of the people that are, like, if you look at local Sri Lankan women, you will never see them wear a bikini at the beach. You will never see them wear anything too exposing unless you're in the capital of Colombo. There are women, like very westernized Sri Lankan women in Colombo that walk around very different, so it's not everybody. But if you go to the beach areas, like, the situation is just very, very different. And I think just read the room, understand the local culture, and act accordingly. That is something that will make you a lot safer than, I don't know, expecting other cultures to understand that you are from Europe, basically. And I know I will probably have angry feminists down in the comments being like, nobody has the right to touch you. I know nobody has the right to touch you, and I totally agree with that. But it's a different culture. Understand the local culture, act accordingly, and you will be a lot safer. That's all I'm trying to say. That was nearly a 20-minute rant from myself. I hope all of you have a great day. I'm gonna enjoy my iced coffee while sitting at this beautiful beach. This is the main surfer stretch here in Hikkaduwa, by the way. Sitting in salty swamis, with my ice Americano. I'm gonna enjoy my ice Americano and then meet Luke somewhere on the way, hopefully. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all. Bye bye.